It was raining when David arrived at the cemetery. The sky hung heavy with gray clouds, and the quiet murmur of the gathering crowd was almost drowned out by the soft, steady patter of rain on umbrellas. Everyone was dressed in black, standing still, faces downturned as the priest spoke in a low, somber tone. The ground beneath their feet was muddy, and a thin mist clung to the grass, making the scene look even more unreal. David stood a little apart from the rest, his hands in his coat pockets, watching in silence as the casket was slowly lowered into the earth. His cousin Ben was gone, just 23 years old, taken in a car crash that no one could have predicted. David didn't cry. He had cried enough the night they turned off the machines at the hospital. Now he just felt hollow. As he scanned the faces around him, something unusual caught his eye. A girl stood a few rows ahead, not under an umbrella, completely soaked by the rain. Her long black dress clung to her skin, her hair was dripping wet, but she didn't flinch. She stood still, staring straight ahead, smiling. The smile didn't make sense. It wasn't mocking or cruel, it was soft, almost peaceful, but it didn't belong at a funeral. David kept watching her, confused. No one else seemed to notice her. People moved around her, walked past her, as if she weren't even there. When the crowd began to thin out and people slowly made their way toward their cars, the girl remained where she was. And then, just as David began to step forward to get a better look, she was gone. That night, David couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face again, calm, silent, and wet with rain. He checked the funeral photos on his phone, flipping through each one slowly, searching for her. But she wasn't in any of them. Even in the video someone had taken of the final prayer, the space where she had stood was empty. It made no sense. The next morning, driven by a strange urgency, he went back to the cemetery. It was still cloudy, and the wet earth hadn't dried. He walked past rows of graves until he reached Ben's. The fresh dirt was dark and uneven. As he stood there, thinking, he heard soft footsteps behind him. He turned quickly. The girl was back. She stood a few feet away, dry this time, her black dress gently moving in the breeze. Her eyes met his, calm and quiet. David asked her who she was, but she didn't answer. After a moment, she spoke just 4 words. "You'll understand very soon." Then she turned and walked away between the tombstones, vanishing behind a row of trees. Over the next few days, David began seeing her everywhere. On the street, in shop windows, reflected in mirrors, always just for a second, always watching him. She never got closer. She never said anything else. But each time she appeared, a strange unease grew in his chest, like something was approaching, something he couldn't stop.
Exactly 1 week after the funeral, his phone buzzed. A breaking news alert popped up. There had been a car crash. The image attached showed a wrecked vehicle, his car. The location, the time, everything matched his usual routine. The date was set for the next morning. Panic set in. He canceled all his plans. He didn't leave his apartment. He turned off his phone. He sat in the dark, staring at the clock, watching each minute crawl by. Midnight came. He was still alive. He slowly got up and looked at his reflection in the window. The streetlights outside cast a faint glow, and in the glass, he saw her again, standing behind him, watching. But this time, she wasn't smiling. She whispered something too soft to hear, and just like that, the weight in his chest lifted. He understood. She hadn't come to warn him about his own death. She had come to prepare him. The crash didn't happen. But the next morning, the phone rang again. His mother was gone. A heart attack in her sleep. No warning, no signs, no time to say goodbye. Days later, David stood at another funeral, in the same cemetery, in the same rain. He didn't move. He couldn't feel anything. As the final prayer ended, he looked across the gathering. There she was, the girl in black, standing in the rain, staring at him with the same quiet calm. And this time, someone was beside her. A young man, also soaked, also silent, also smiling.